All right, what we're working with today is we're continuing to work on order of operations. We've been doing the MDAS, but now we're going to focus on PEMDAS where we do all of it. And so we're going to use PEMDAS, and there's a little saying that a lot of you probably already are familiar with, and it's please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And so, I don't know why I put Y there, neither, Sally. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to always start with parentheses. And when I say P, that is parentheses. And parentheses, you work on what's inside. So if I have 5 plus 2 times 6, I follow order of operations inside. And so I'll do 5 plus 12. And then I'll follow order of operations inside, and I get 17. Okay, so when you have parentheses, you have to start on the inside. Another thing I want you to realize is that fractions sometimes are parentheses also. So if a fraction doesn't have a parentheses, but they're doing things on the top or the bottom, you throw a parentheses on it because it actually is a parentheses. And so for this one, I would do this first. And so I get 2 plus 12 divided by 5. And then I still have this parentheses here because there's still operations to do. And so 2 plus 12 is 14 divided by 5. And so that would be our answer, which is what? 5 4/5. Okay, but again, a fraction also can be parentheses, so you might have to put it there so you remember. The next operation we have is E, and that is for exponents. And we should probably just learn some basic stuff about exponents first. And an exponent, if I say 2 to the third, that is 2 times 2 times 2. It's 3 of them. This tells me how many of them there are. And so that's actually 8. If I have negative 5 squared, that's the same as negative 5 times negative 5, which is a positive 25. But if I have a negative 5 squared, that's just a negative with a 5 times a 5. You see that square didn't do that. It didn't touch that negative. It only went to the 5. And so that's negative 25. So you have to be careful on that. When the negative is inside the parentheses, it's always going to be positive. If it's on the outside or it's not a parentheses, then it'll stay negative. All right, the next two things are multiplying and dividing. And remember, you go together. If a division problem comes first, you divide first. You don't always do the M first. Then we have addition. Oops, I forgot my A. And subtraction. Okay, so I got a couple problems down here for us to try before I let you try some on your own. So if you notice, I have parentheses and I do what's inside the parentheses first. So I'm going to do that. And I get 2 minus 4, which is negative 2. Now when I square that, if you like, you can write it again twice so that you know what you're doing. Now it's a multiplication problem. And negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. And now 3 minus 4 is negative 1. Now here, again, I'm going to switch colors so my parentheses stand out. Really what I have is I have a parentheses on the top and a parentheses on the bottom. Now when you have a parentheses on the top and the bottom, because they're different parentheses, you could do a couple steps at a time. So here I'm going to do my exponent first. So I get 10 minus 25, because 5 times 5 is 25, over 6 minus 3 squared, which is 3 times 3, which is 9. And then I bring down the plus 8. I still have parentheses, so I'm going to do that on top, and I get negative 15 over negative 3. Well, negative 15 over negative 3 becomes a positive 5 because the two negatives will become positive, plus 8, and that gives me 13. So take it one step at a time, and I'm sure you'll be fine. You just have to do parentheses first and then exponents. All right, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to copy down 1, 2, and 3, try them out, and when you think you're ready, press play. Okay, so hopefully you tried these out. You should have multiplied first and got 2 minus 15 squared. Now I still have something to do in the parentheses, so I'm going to do that. So I get negative 13 squared. Well, negative 13 is squared is negative 13 times negative 13, which is a positive 169 because there's two negatives. All right, the next one again, I could put a parentheses on top. And so I get 5 minus 8 because I did this little multiplying over 3 minus 4 squared. So now I'm going to do my subtraction on the top and bottom, and I get negative 3 over negative 1 squared, which is negative 3 over negative 1 squared is negative 1 times negative 1, which is positive 1. And so my answer for this one is negative 3. This third one has brackets. These things right here, those are called brackets. Brackets are just a fancy way to make parentheses so that it doesn't get confusing. So when I have brackets and parentheses, I start in the inside. And my inside here, I'm going to highlight, is this. This is everything on the very inside. And if you notice, I have two things I can do. But I'm going to do my multiplying first because multiplying comes before subtraction. So this becomes a 6. And I'm going to bring everything down, including my brackets. So now I still have parentheses. I'm still inside, so I need to do that. 2 minus negative 6 is negative 4. And I'm going to bring everything else down, including the brackets. Now I have two negatives touching. I can circle them, and there's no number in between, so I can make plus. So 5 plus 4 is 9. Bring down my plus 4 here. And so I get 13. All right, the last couple problems I want to do is we have to do these where we're going to plug in. And so the first thing I need to do, I'll do one example for you. A is 2. C is 4. Minus 3 times B is negative 3. Plus C is 4 squared. Now, if you notice, this is the only one I plugged in parentheses. That's the only one I plugged in parentheses because the other numbers had parentheses. When I try and plug in parentheses and parentheses, it gets a little confusing. So it's much easier just to do numbers in parentheses if it's by itself. So now I have to do multiplication first. Oh, no, because I have to do inside parentheses. I got to take care of this parentheses first. I have to take care of this. And so I have to multiply first. So I bring down the 2, the 4. 3 times 3 is 9, but you see I have 1, 2 negatives. So I bring those down. Okay, now I have this. I still have inside the parentheses, so I have to take care of this. So I get 2 times 13. Now I still have parentheses. Whoa, what did I write there? 4 squared. I was writing something totally different. I still have parentheses, but I don't have any operations in the parentheses, so I'm going to do my exponent. And 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16. I'm going to bring everything else down. Now I'm going to do my multiplication, which is 2 times 13, which is 26. And 26 plus 16 is 42. So this one took a little bit of time, but just take it one step at a time. Now, I'd like you to try number 5 on your own. And when you think you're ready, press play. All right, so you should have plugged in negative 3 minus 4 plus 2. So these are my parentheses, and a negative 3 and a negative 4 is a negative 7. And now I multiply, and I get negative 14 plus 2, and I get negative 12. So that one was definitely easier than number 4, but it's still the same process. It just had less steps. All right, last one, number 6. I'd like you to try it again on your own. And when you think you're ready, I want you to press play so you can check your work. Okay, so I have -5. A is 2 minus 2 times B, which is -3, squared. So I still have parentheses. I have all this right here. But I'm going to start inside. And my inside, is it going to be the minus or the times? Yeah, that's right. I'm going to be the multiplying. So it's going to be -5, 2. A -2 times a -3 is 2 negatives with a 6. This becomes plus. So I get -5 times 8 squared. And so this becomes -5 times 64. Because 8 times 8 is 64. And now I need to do 5 times 64. So I took out the calculator for that one, which is -320. So remember, take your time, do everything inside the parentheses first, but when you're doing things inside the parentheses, you still have to follow the multiplying, dividing rule and the adding and subtracting rule.